Hey there peeps, welcome to my channel. My name is Girly Cat and today is my first post of this year's Inktober. Now I said before my last video that I don't really follow any prompts for this Inktober, I'm just drawing as I want to, and I thought what better way to draw that than drawing some OCs. Now, disclaimer, this OC is not mine, it is my friend's. So I thought that would be the best way to start off the new year is to challenge myself to draw something that I personally did not create. And I'm going to talk about the process a little bit just because this painting didn't really go off as I had planned it to, but that's okay. You take what you can and you make it work. So, without further ado, here we go. Okay, so right here is where some of the stuff goes a little awry. For starters, I'm not using watercolor paper to paint this character, which is gonna bite me in the butt a little bit, because originally I was going to use Copic markers to make this creation, and I couldn't find all my markers to do what I wanted to do, so I was like, what the heck, just paint it, no big deal. But I forgot one very important rule about Bristol paper. Bristol paper absorbs everything, and by everything, as you can probably see on her shoulder there, the water in the paint is separating, and that means that the paper absorbed the oils from my hand when I was sketching. So the paint is literally just sitting on top of those oils and not really going anywhere. But as it starts to dry with more paint and pigment and stuff like that, it slowly starts to work. So with that being said, if at first you don't succeed, keep going, maybe it'll work out. Now this is the moment where I say, practice what I preach, not as I do, and literally because watercolor is not meant to be on Bristol paper. Now, Bristol paper can handle small amounts of watercolor, like I said, but the watercolor kind of sits on top of it, and it takes forever to dry because the paper is meant to absorb ink. So, as you can see here, I have to bust up the little hairdryer. So, if something isn't drying as fast as you need it to, break out a little hairdryer so it'll dry faster. Now, here's a moment where I am literally just winging it. Why? Because I suck at drawing skirts, or painting skirts for this example. It's one of those things, it's like I'm still trying to figure out how the flow of fabric works and whatnot. And later on, you're going to see I added design to this just because I didn't just want a big old block of black. So it's one of these moments where I literally created stuff on the fly and it actually turned out pretty good. So if you don't know what you're doing, again, wing it a bit. But don't be afraid to do things that you're still struggling with and sharing it with the world, stuff like that. That's how you learn. And sharing it with you guys, maybe you guys can also learn some confident tips and tricks that I came up with, because I still think this skirt looks like a big old black blob, but hopefully it doesn't later on, so let me know what you guys think. I'm honestly going to say that painting and drawing hair is one of my favorite things next to doing eyes. It was one of those things that I randomly just sketched in school. Like, even my notes are just randomly filled with random hairstyles and eye designs and stuff like that. I will say that I'm not particularly proud of how this hairstyle turned out, but as I'm watching it back now to do this voiceover, I've noticed that it's actually pretty realistic. Like, everyone says that one side of their face is their, quote-unquote, best side. So with this, I feel like the right side of her face with her hair and stuff like that flows very elegantly and looks natural. And then you have the left side. It also looks natural because it's not, quote-unquote, her best side. It's not as voluminous is the word? It's not as voluminous as the other side. And I feel like that makes it more realistic. And here's a better example of what I said before about like the watercolor not going into the paper, like it's literally separating a little bit, as you can see up close here and personal, because that brush is full of water and paint and it's just not going into the paper, it's just sitting there. But like I said, thankfully it dries, and as it dries I'm able to add more layers of pigment and color, so no harm done. Now, here's where I started adding the design to the skirt, because like I said, I didn't want a big old black blob, and I had no idea what I was doing. I literally had to Pinterest search, hey, great skirt designs to go with an orange sweater. And this is what became out of it. I think this was a Micron pen, metallic paint. Anyway, word of advice on those guys, they smell so bad, so keep them away from your face. Don't get high like I did. just a little random question in case you've made it this far. Would you wear this outfit? I'm curious. Let me know down below. Now, here's where some of my mistakes just started coming and they just wouldn't stop. And I left them in because sometimes your artwork just doesn't go the way you want it to. I'm struggling with this pen right now. Like, this pen is not giving me the results that I want. So I'm feeling like I can't get as detailed as I want to. I'm having to find another pen and I'm just like trying not to freak out, as well as draw this in the style that I want to. So I finished out the face the best that I could, and then I ended up grabbing a slightly beefier pen and ended up working out just fine. I don't know what I was worried for. So again, one of my favorite parts of my drawings is always drawing the hair details. Now, a little info on this style of the OC's name is Poppy, by the way. This style of Poppy actually is like, I'm gonna reference like a 1990s anime, so I was trying to figure out how to get the feel of that style as well as being my own style, and that is what we have here today. Now, a lot of things got cut off just because I'm filming on my phone and I didn't realize how the angle was, so forgive me for that, but I think I turned out pretty good, so I'm proud of it. It reflects the show that we were referencing. I'm not going to go into that right now because that's a story for another time, but I was kind of hesitant with this pen just because it was beefier and I'm used to having smaller detailed lines. But I think because I was forced to use it, I'm actually glad that I had to, because it's giving the vibe that I wanted and I didn't even think that it could. So there you go. Try new things even when you don't want to. Now, this is where the part where I was talking about leaving your mistakes in. Like, my white gel pens just would not work for me. So I ended up using a whiteout pen. So, again, use what you got and go with it. And this is when I start adding the details with the color pencils. And quite frankly, I think it adds a little bit more texture and stuff that's needed to make the sweater actually look like a sweater, as well as added a little extra depth in that shading that I was talking about earlier. So that is how you can add a great detail of work with very little effort to most of your watercolor pieces. So this little guy decided to join in on the fun and scared the living tar out of me despite his tiny size. Now what you do see is me flicking him off my paper. What you don't see is my cat eating him. So there you go. Yeah, that was actually quite worth it. Now, spider interruption avoided. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. All the products that I used are listed down below. Thank you for joining me on this little painting of Poppy. I hope you guys will join me for the next one. It's going to be a digital drawing. I think of a new one that I did recently and then an older one, just so I can talk to you guys about certain things and show you some growth. And then after that is one of my OCs, so I hope you guys will join me for the next one. Thank you guys again for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Stay nerdy, my friends.